Acceleration phase is the first 5 to 6 steps when you're looking to get up to speed. It's where an athlete can really separate themselves from other athletes, if they can be more explosive, have a quick first step, and be able to really get up to full speed quickly. In my last video, we went over the difference between acceleration phase and top end speed phase when it comes to sprinting. So check that out, ideally before you watch this video, or at least after, because it really will help out when it comes to getting faster or learning how to train smarter when it comes to sprinting. Okay, so let's break this down. Recovery position is the first thing we have to talk about when it comes to acceleration mechanics. This position is also utilized in a lot of the warm-ups we do when it comes to skipping. So, recovery position is when your knee is about the same height of the waistband on your shorts or pants. The foot is dorsiflexed, which means you're pulling it towards your shin with your toes up. This is very important. The foot needs to be dorsiflexed because when sprinting, it will allow you to punch the ground harder and with more force. Your ankle should relatively be underneath your knee, and your posture should be tall. These positions you see me going through here are common ways I see athletes setting up this position wrong or going through this movement incorrectly. The knee needs to be up, foot dorsiflexed, and the ankle underneath the knee, not tucked underneath the hip or underneath your butt. Again, this is called recovery position and is a foundational base of the mechanics for accelerating faster. Now, here you will see me doing a fundamental acceleration drill called a wall drill. In this drill, you will be able to see the positions you need to hit in order to accelerate faster with proper mechanics. At about a 45-degree angle, I rise up on the balls of my feet, and I notice I'm going to quickly switch from recovery position on one leg to the other, trying to strike the ground with force. So let's go take a look at me sprinting and how this should translate in actual movement. In acceleration phase, just like in a wall drill, I'm trying to get to an angle, punch my knee up into recovery position, and strike back into the ground underneath my hip to push me forward. I want to continue to hit those positions until I get up to speed and the leg starts to cycle, and when I hit top end speed phase and my posture becomes more upright naturally as I get further into the sprint. It's really simple when broken down in this way, but unfortunately a lot of athletes struggle to be able to hit those positions at speed. Some common areas is an athlete is trying to use jogging mechanics or top end speed mechanics when they're actually accelerating because they don't know how to get to recovery position. Here's a common one I see with athletes when starting off in the wall drills, where the legs are snapping underneath the hip when coming off the ground versus straight in front of the hip as it comes off the ground into recovery position. This creates almost 3 motions in one stride length versus 2. Recovery position should basically be 2 motions in a pretty straight line. Bounce off the floor and straight up in front of the hip. But again, a lot of athletes use top end speed mechanics like this, where it's 3 motions of off the floor, under the hip, and then in front. This typically causes a heel striking issue, where the athlete is striking the ground on their heel versus on the ball of their foot, and reducing their speed, all while they're trying to gain speed. It's kind of a braking step. You don't sprint on your heels. A really good visual to help out with this concept and to pull the importance of learning acceleration mechanics together is what I call the 5 B's of acceleration. The first B is break the glass. Imagine that you have a piece of glass floating out in front of you at your waist height. When you go to sprint, you want to punch the knee to the glass into recovery position with force, trying to break it. Then the second B is break the floor. Those 2 motions, break the glass and break the floor, will create the third B, which is a big movement, and a big movement fast. If you break the glass, then think break the floor. This will create a big movement, which in turn will create more force. Accelerating and speed is about ground force production. You're trying to produce as much force on the ground in order to drive you forward. This is where the fourth B comes in, and that is ball of the foot. If your foot is properly dorsiflexed, this will essentially turn your foot into almost a hard fist, in which you can strike the ground as hard as possible, and bounce, the 5th B. You want to bounce the foot off the ground, or spend as little time on the ground as possible, all while producing as much force as you can. This will essentially allow you to create more energy that can be produced into the ground and come back to you so you can accelerate forward. So it's break the glass, break the floor. That creates a big movement in order to produce more force. Hit the ground on the ball of the foot and bounce the foot off the ground, going from recovery position to recovery position, all while pushing hard into extension or into the ground, thinking push the ground away to push you forward. If you really want to get faster, a quicker first step or more explosive, learning the breakdown of mechanics is really important. Then mastering and working on them just like any other skill. Everyone learns to walk, then jog, then sprint. It's an inherent thing that everyone does, but not everyone masters, because just like any other skill in sports, hitting a ball, throwing a ball, dribbling, it has to be trained. Speed training is about mechanics, getting stronger, and running fast often. Lastly, if you've yet to subscribe to this YouTube channel or check out any of our other social media, the TikTok or our podcast, please do so. It really helps us out as a gym to grow. Thank you, and in the next video, we're going to go over top end speed phase and its mechanics.